Thank you everyone for joining us for webinar number 7 of 8 of our optimal ad sales process. Today we're focused on closing the deal. So again, this is a revised version of a webinar series we did in 2019. So we kind of tightened up the material, got some redesigned handouts, one of which I will mention today, which we released last week. But let's take a quick look at where we came from so far. Today we're talking about closing, but in the very beginning, a couple of months ago, we discussed the competition. All right, who is it that we're competing with for ad spend? Facebook, Google, our local competitors. Packaging and pricing. So how are we going to price the things that we're going to sell? Methodology. The process of just generally good sales habits using a CRM, and then moving on to getting the meeting. So this is where we get into actual sales. So what can we say to convince somebody to give us a meeting or a little slice of their day to discuss their marketing needs? And then lastly, the meeting, or not lastly, next the meeting, what do we do at the meeting? What is the point of that meeting? Really, it's about information gathering, understanding our customer, what they want, what's worked in the past, what hasn't worked, because we're going to take everything that we learned and we're going to put it into a proposal. So last week we discussed our proposals and we released a proposal template. And that proposal is really good for a lot of different things, but it makes it much easier to get to that point where you close the sale. So once someone has a proposal that nicely outlines everything that you do, it tells your story, it addresses your client's needs, it makes some recommendations on potential packages that are going to solve their marketing problems, then you kind of set yourself up for that closing stage. So getting to yes. And then next week, we're going to wrap up the last few segments, collecting check-ins and renewals, into our last webinar, 8 of 8. So that's coming up next week. If you haven't heard of it so far, 10 advantages, right? It's almost impossible at this point not to have heard of 10 advantages at some point, but what are your advantages as a niche or independent or smaller independent publisher? So you have the ability to be agile and flexible with what it is that you do for your clients. And this kind of white paper, really not very light on the marketing side for Broadstreet. It's very heavy on the actual strategy that our most successful customers put in place to stand out and be different in the face of competitors like Google and Facebook. So for next week, if you're interested in that final webinar segment, renewals, go to information.broadstreetads.com/webinar schedule. Tiffany, if you wouldn't mind pasting the link inside the Zoom webinar chat, go right ahead. And as we go through this webinar, we have a special guest today alongside Annette Batson, who is our all-star sales rep from Annette, as usual. But as you have questions throughout the webinar, go ahead and use that Zoom webinar chat feature. You'll see it somewhere in your Zoom toolbar. If you click on the chat feature, you'll see that's usually some good conversation takes place there. So just keep an eye. We'd like to keep an eye on it and address questions periodically as we move through the presentation. So today is all about, how do I win this prospect? They have a proposal and you have a follow-up date. So something at the end of our proposal webinar last week, we said at the end of that proposal meeting, if you get that phone call or that virtual session or that in-person meeting with your potential client, you always want to have a follow-up date. And really all good salespeople do this. At the end of the conversation, you always say, when is a good time for the next conversation? Because we know if we got this far, it was hard enough to get that time with them. It was hard enough just to get a response from them, whether it was by email, phone, etc. So we don't want to have to go through that whole process of following up again. If we can set a time at the end of that initial or that meeting, that sales meeting, that's going to save us a lot of time in discussing the proposal with them. So today we have David Walsh, who's the CEO, Web Publisher Pro. Thank you, David, for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I figure maybe share a brief on Web Publisher Pro. David's joined us on webinars in the past and always has some good, really good thoughts and contributions to make throughout the webinar.
Yeah, so Web Publisher Pro, we work closely with Broadstreet. We provide website design and development, maintenance services for publishers, hosting, and we just recently released a light version. So amid some of the changes in the economy, we've put out a plan that provides like the service hosting and consulting, helping to build revenue, but at a affordable price to try to help small publishers through what's going on.
Right, perfect. Yeah, and we have a number of mutual customers. So we work really with almost, I would say in both of our cases, probably 90% plus of the types of publishers who have direct sales teams. So we work with this model a lot. And then, of course, we have Annette Batson, as always, like I said, the all-star sales rep of Annette, who does this on a daily basis, day in, day out.
Hello there.
And always has some really good insight from the field. So thank you for joining us.
And I work with David too. No, love that.
Perfect. So thank you both. Here's the overview of what we'll be going through today. So one is that we're going to quickly review that proposal piece. So if you didn't see it last week, I think it's really important that you do see it. The proposal template that we put together and released to everybody. So I'll go over that very quickly, but then we're going to talk about setting the stage for success and then the three possibilities for the outcome of the proposal. So either we get silence, we get a no, or we get a yes. We're going to talk about which of those, basically how we handle each of those. So on that review piece, and by the way, Annette and David, if you have any thoughts throughout this, just go ahead and interject. Sometimes I tend to get on a roll and I don't really leave a lot of a gap. So you guys just go ahead and let me know if any, or if you'd like to chime in. So the goal of a proposal, all right, so the goal of that proposal that we discussed last week, there are a few different things that we want to accomplish, and we'll discuss this over the next couple slides, but we want to tell our story. We want to be relatable. We want to explain our mission and the hard work we do, and importantly, how we're supported, how we make all of this work, right? But we really want to outline, especially for somebody who doesn't really know us yet, who we are, how we relate to the community, all that stuff, because really that's going to help personalize this proposal. But we also want to communicate our difference. So I'm a big fan of the power of threes. What are the three things that you do that nobody else does or nobody else does well? So those differentiators for you are so powerful, right? Think about Google, think about Facebook. They're kind of easy, they're self-serve, but they do have some weaknesses, right? So one, it's not really easy to do anything terribly creative by boosting a Facebook post. We know you take a post, you boost it. It's the same thing every time people scroll through their feed. Maybe they see it, maybe they don't, etc. So Google and Facebook, apart from just making it easy, they also have targeting and scale and things that they're good at. But what are the things that you're good at that nobody else can do? If you need some help on that, 10 advantages, again, that ebook that we discussed in the beginning is really good in those pieces, but there are definitely some things that you can do better than anyone else. One of them being probably the fact that you can provide some great customer service, some great guidance for your clients toward their marketing goals. So that's probably first and foremost, the fact that you are going to help your client be successful. That probably should be one of your differentiators. But a proposal also demonstrates that you care. So we went to that meeting, that initial sales meeting. That wasn't just a meet and greet. That was an information gathering session. So what are the things that our client wants to do, right? Every business owner in the world knows that they should be marketing. They know that, they might have some things on the burner or something in the back of their mind. They're like, oh, we're doing these great. And I always use cooking classes as an example. It's just the easiest for me to pull up. But every business owner has something like that they want to tell the world about, but they're also busy running their business. Right? They have other things to do. Every business in the world has a million things to do at any given time. They know they should be marketing, and they do have things that they want to do, but they don't always have the time to do it. So this is your time to kind of take those things that they said they wanted to do, the things that they might be interested in, and you put that all into the proposal. You say, okay, you're trying to get people in for this event. You're trying to get people to, you're trying to get this message out. This is how we're going to do that. So your proposal is going to kind of be a game plan to achieve the thing that they said they want to achieve. Now, it's really important at that sales meeting to also get an idea, if not ask outright, what by your definition would mean a successful campaign, right? So from that business owner's perspective, if you were to spend money with us and we went forward with this campaign, at the end of that, how do you define success? So if you can find something that you agree on there, you can get that client's articulation of what success is. Your proposal should be a roadmap to that level of success. And then if you can help achieve that, then there's really no reason that they shouldn't stay on board with you and continue to renew the business, which is what we discuss next week. Proposal also can demonstrate that you're legitimate, right? Especially when we're starting out, people haven't really heard of us. A proposal has a way of being this one document that sets clear expectations. A well-designed proposal can make us look much more put together than we might really be. So it can make you look established, professional, and importantly, getting to the end of this, a proposal is part of a repeatable process. So you want that established professional look, but everything that goes into that proposal, because it's largely templated, it's more or less the same thing every time. Now, there are some kind of custom areas for your clients, but a proposal has a way of saying what you need to say to a client the same way every single time someone receives a proposal. So it becomes part of this repeatable process that you can go ahead and customize those different areas for those different clients, but for the most part, it's the same representation to each of your clients. And it's so easy to underestimate why that's so important. A repeatable process is going to help you scale your business as you work with more publishers, as you hire somebody to do some of the sales work for you. The ability to use the same proposal that demonstrates who you are, what you're good at, what you do, doing that over and over is going to help you close more sales, reach out to more people, etc. So a proposal is a really important part of that repeatable process. And something I kind of skipped here, it also helps clear the fog. What happens if I move forward? So let's take a quick look at a proposal that we put together, a proposal template that we had designed and released to everybody last week. So just as a quick sanity check, David, you can see my screen, right? You can see the Google Doc?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So this is the proposal template we went over last week, multiple pages, everything is customizable. So if you like this proposal template, you go to File, make a copy, and you're gonna go ahead and get your own copy inside Google Drive. But basically, every section that you might need in a proposal is included in this template. You have a little About section, a place to put your photo, the differences or those areas to kind of state your big differences, your readership, place for demographics, a little bit of some media kit items here, your unique process, so how you actually work. Once somebody says, yes, I would like to move forward, what are the steps that take place after that? So important, especially for businesses who've either been burned in the past or they're new to this marketing thing. What is your process? What's going to happen and when is it going to happen after they agreed to go forward? So we put in different steps in there, some testimonials, what our clients have to say. So any kind of social proof you can put in a proposal is very powerful. And then that client needs assessment. What did the client say they needed or the thing that they wanted to achieve? And what is your solution to that, right? When they see their own needs listed out like this and your solutions, again, it makes it look like you really cared, because you did, and that you have a solution for that. And then our different packages. Okay, so we have ads, our solution number one, you could go ahead and change this around, of course. These are more or less just placeholders, what your packaging and pricing would be, pages for different options here, and then again, our agreement language at the end. So we had this, again, we had it professionally designed. It was based on some proposals that we had seen in the past and ones that even Broadstreet has used in the past. So if you don't have one, a proposal can be really helpful. And I actually, Broadstreet, we kind of did proposals, but I think it was actually Web Publisher Pro when we started working with you guys. I think that was like kind of validation and also inspiration to make proposals a more consistent part of our process. So David, I wanted to ask, do you guys use proposals at Web Publisher Pro?
Oh, we love proposals. There's some of the items that I was making notes as you were going through the slides. The templated process of the proposal is absolutely key. A lot of times proposals can be just a numbers game. As you send more and more out, at Web Publisher Pro, and I'm sure at Broadstreet, you can recognize the pattern of closing. So for every 20 meetings I have, I get to send 10 proposals to interested parties, and maybe 3 people sign the proposal and move forward. So once you know that system, then it's just a numbers game of making contact and moving people down that funnel. One important piece is early on in the proposal process, ours is really refined now after years of sending proposals and winning proposals or losing proposals. But one important part early on is refine it. This example that Broadstreet's providing is absolutely excellent. But as you get feedback from clients or they ask questions because maybe something's missing from the proposal, you write down those questions or the objections and go back to your proposal and work them in there so that it becomes less of a burden on you moving forward, having to answer those frequently asked questions.
Yeah, that's such a good point, and it plays into that repeatable process. We want this to be repeatable. If you find yourself having to answer, especially when they're the same questions over and over, after sending out multiple proposals, definitely refine your proposal, put in, and basically head off those questions ahead of time, because again, it makes it more scalable. The more time you end up answering questions outside of that, the fewer, the less time in the day you have to do other things, which might include reaching out to more people, taking more meetings, and connecting it back to that numbers game item that David brought up. So if you know that every 20 meetings results in 10 proposals, results in maybe like 5 or 3 or 5 new clients, you could actually connect that all the way back to the beginning of the process, right? You can say, okay, well, those 20 meetings that I got, that was based on 100 people that I had reached out to begin with, right? So then you could say, okay, well, if 100 people that I reach out to, basically I end up bringing 3% of them on board. Now, the numbers are probably going to be different for especially our local publishers. There are only so many advertisers in the world that we could potentially deal with, but we could say, oh, you know what? That means if I want to go ahead and I want to get, if I want to get 9 clients, that means I have to reach out to 300 people. If I need 18 clients, I need to reach out to 600 people, whatever that number is. But all of a sudden, you can start to map it all the way back and see from the numbers how you can get to your revenue goals, and just start working on that. Take it back to that sales cycle. So it's a really good point on that numbers game aspect of it. And it's especially,
sorry, I was going to include on the numbers game too, like even those 100 people that you're calling and the 20 appointments or proposals you're getting as you go down, even all the people that say no, they should stay in your CRM or on your spreadsheet or whatever your list is, because in sales, the no generally just means let's talk later or contact me later. So someone that's a no today on the 100 people that you contacted, in 90 days when you contact them again, they might be a maybe. 90 days after that, they might be a yes. So even if you're in a local environment where you might only have 100 people, it just consistently and keep contacting them, and eventually you get them at the right time.
Right, exactly. And we actually, that's a good segue into today's actual topic, those different responses you're going to get from a proposal. And generally, no doesn't mean no forever. It means no right now. There are a lot of good reasons for that. So at the end of that sales meeting where we offered to create a proposal, client ideally said yes, they almost always do. We want to set a date to follow up and discuss that proposal if possible. So setting the stage for success, the proposal has landed, you did all the hard work, right? So we did most of the work. Now we just have to get a yes or a no.